2010, squabbles between pro-Western Ukrainian politicians had allowed a pro-Russian candidate, Yanukovych, to take the country's presidency. This time around, Moscow would not be able to exploit Ukraine's internal fissures, Poroshenko assured me. There will be unity. Ukraine above all. Unity not around a person or a position, but unity around the nation. As long as the threat of an invasion persists, we must take a moratorium on anything that undermines unity, Poroshenko said. His party's lawmakers, he added, were about to vote for a government bill in parliament to significantly expand Zelensky's powers, something they had previously opposed. I switched off the recorder and shook Poroshenko's hand. He leaned toward me, lowering his voice. It's going to be tomorrow, after 4 a.m., he said. I thought I should warn you. You still have time to rush to the airport and hop on a flight out of here. Tomorrow? I asked, unsure. The war? Yes, Poroshenko nodded. Now we have the intelligence. That's why Parliament is meeting now, and why we are voting for all the things that we used to be so firmly against. Many prominent Ukrainians, including some senior officials and billionaire oligarchs, were flying out of Kyiv that afternoon, convinced that their country would quickly collapse once confronted by the full might of Russia, a nuclear power with a much bigger and better armed military, and a war chest of hundreds of billions of dollars in oil and gas revenues. Some hoped to return as part of a new pro-Russian regime. Outside Ukraine, hardly anyone believed that the nation had a chance in the face of a Russian onslaught, no matter how valiantly it resisted. For centuries, Russian military power had terrified Europe. As for this place called Ukraine, was it, deep down, a real country after all? A Russian triumph within days was a foregone conclusion, Western intelligence services predicted. President Joe Biden's administration had already pulled out American diplomats and military advisors, shutting down the sprawling U.S. embassy compound in Kyiv. But the dates that Washington floated for the invasion had come and gone, with nothing more than mockery of American warmongering on Russian TV. To Washington's angst, Zelensky himself and his aides publicly played down the likelihood of a full-scale Russian invasion, unwilling to spook the country's population, and incredulous that Putin would do something so foolhardy. Unlike Putin and some of Ukraine's Western partners, Zelensky knew that Ukrainian soldiers would not surrender, and estimated that the assembled Russian force would be insufficient to capture Kyiv, let alone the entire nation. I, too, had clung to hope that it could all be a big bluff, an attempt for Putin to extract last-minute concessions from the West. Steve-O Stephen, a former British commando and a friend advising me and my colleagues on security, disagreed. Russian troops had been camping out for weeks in the cold, dark forests around Ukraine, suffering diarrhea, respiratory infections, and vehicle breakdowns in harsh winter conditions. I did this sort of staging several times myself, and there was not one time when we didn't invade at the end, he mused. You just don't do it if you don't mean it. I walked back from the meeting with Poroshenko to Kyiv's Hyatt Hotel, through the crowds of the capital's central Krishchatik Avenue, and past the ancient Golden Dome cathedrals of St. Sophia and St. Michael. The usual afternoon traffic clogged the intersections. There was neither panic buying nor lines at the ATMs. Were all these young people in bars unaware of the gathering storm? Or were they just savoring their last precious moments of peace? In Washington, foreboding was palpable as Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba visited Biden. Welcomed into the White House with a mixture of warmth and sadness, Kuleba felt like he was being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It seemed like final farewells for him and for his country. Steve-O and I stocked up on essentials and withdrew as much cash as possible. I also called my friends on the eastern bank of the Dnipro River that bisects Ukraine, telling them to jump on a train west to avoid being trapped on the wrong side once the Russians advanced or destroyed the bridges. Manu Braba, a Spanish photographer on assignment for the Wall Street Journal, had just reached the front line in Donetsk.